So coming back at you, we have a fraction with a few coefficients in it. Note that there is a problem here. We have that root 8 in the denominator. Now you might recognize that root 8 can be simplified, but I want to walk through this problem assuming maybe you didn't do that at first. So we need to identify that there is a problem in our denominator. Now the whole denominator is 3 root 8, but the 3 isn't the problem. The problem is that root 8. So when we actually go to do the work here, multiply by denominator over denominator, we don't really need the 3. We can multiply this expression by 1, and I just want to note that if you include the 3, multiply by 3 root 8 over 3 root 8, that is still 1, that is still true, but those 3's are going to cancel anyways. So it's not really worth our time to include that 3. You certainly can for the sake of following the checklist word for word if you like, but I don't recommend it. I recommend just multiplying by root 8 over root 8. So going through the process here, we actually do get to step 4, multiply. We've got a 4 root 3 times root 8. Haven't seen anything like that in a while. That's root 3 times root 8, which gives us a root 24. In the denominator, we're going to have a 3 times root 8 times root 8, which is a root 64. And we can clean this thing up quite a bit. Again, had we have reduced that 8 at the very beginning, we'd have much smaller numbers now. But it never hurts to walk through one of these problems with a few bigger numbers. The square root of 64 is something we know. That's just 8. And I'm going to bring this root 24 out here so we can work with that a little bit. The square root of 24, we can break that one up. That's the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. And the square root of 4 is 2. So putting all this work back into our fraction, we still have a 4 in the numerator. We have this 2 that came out of our root 24. We also have a root 6 that came out of our root 24. In the denominator, there's still the 3 that we started with, and an 8. So this is where that step 5 comes in that we haven't had to worry about in the previous 3 examples. There's a whole lot going on in this fraction that we can clean up. Depending on how you're comfortable seeing this, you can go ahead and multiply things together. You can have a 4 times 2 in the numerator, which is an 8, as well as a root 6. You could also multiply out the denominator, 3 times 8, which is 24. Or you may have recognized in the very beginning that, hey, 4 and 8 have a common factor. So they reduce. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then you have a 2 and a 2, which are identical, so they cancel. If you notice something like that right away, go for it. If you don't worry about it. You can come down to this step that I put together, see the 8 over 24, and go, whoa, that's no problem. 8 is a third of 24. Additionally, if you have trouble reducing those fractions, most calculators do have a fraction option where you can put 8 over 24 in your calculator and it will reduce it to 1/3. You have to be careful though, if you put that root 6 in your calculator, most calculators can't handle that radical notation. So they'll spit out some crazy decimal answer. But if you put 8/24 into most scientific calculators, they will be able to reduce that fraction of 1/3 for you. So there we had a rationalizing problem with a little bit more going on. At this point, take a look at some of those Math Excel problems. They range in difficulty from things from our first example, which is a quick multiplication, down to things like this where we do have some reducing, we have some extra coefficients. Make sure you're asking questions if you have them, and I'll see you next time.